What is up, everybody? Sorry, my live didn't go live until like 5 minutes after we were live. So I was like, I didn't want to say anything when we're not being off live. Great start to the show. So we are without our host, Josh Romine. So you have Josh Van Cleve stepping in. So the show will probably go a lot smoother than normal, so just let you guys know.
Also, this is the Four Horsemen Fantasy Football Podcast. Just to let everyone know.
Britt,
this is going off. Yes.
I was getting to that.
Oh,
Thank you
man.
for ruining my intro.
Oh.
So, welcome to the Four Horsemen Fantasy Podcast. I am your host tonight, Josh Van Cleve. With us, we have Brent Ocker.
Yes.
That's
you do. You sure do.
And Alex Stephenson.
Woo! I'm here.
All right.
This is a great start. We're off to top notch.
Top notch. Amateur hour over here.
Yep.
So, but for those of those listening, I want you guys to hop on our Twitter handle, Four Horsemen Pod, as well as you can send us some emails if you have questions. I know Romine's still waiting for people to email us, so he may be waiting.
We're still waiting for that first email.
Wait for their first
now, I will say, like, just to be clear, though, we do get a lot of questions from people around us. So it's not like I feel like people that are listening are like, well, I don't want to email and be the first person. People are talking to us. They're just actually talking to us instead of, like emailing us.
For those
it's okay to email us.
Yes. Reach out to us. Ask us these questions. We want those hard-hitting questions because we love talking about fantasy. So on today's show, we're actually going to be talking about our crushes. What I mean by that is we're talking about players that we had drafted high and that you have on your team right now that aren't producing where you had drafted them, and they're not producing what you want them to. So what do we do with them? Do we sit them? Do we start them? Do we trade them? We don't know what to do. So we're going to be talking about that. Well, we know what to do, but we're answering
We're
these questions.
smarter than you. We are smarter than you, and so we will do it.
No, I'm saying we know what to do, so that's why we're going to give you some fantasy advice to know what to do with these players, because it is a tough situation. A lot of us, actually all three of us, are in some of that right now, that we have some players that we don't know necessarily what to do with, and so we're going to kind of help navigate you guys through this foggy time of when you're trying to get to those wins down the road. So starting off, let's start with some players here. Let's start off with what do we do with one of my man crushes here is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, we kind of knew that that running back core was kind of murky, and we kind of understood that going into the season, but we knew that Joe Mixon's talent would just succeed everybody else's. And it got to the point where he was the lead rusher when they got rid of their old offensive coordinator, and he started leading the ball. He's got volume and stuff, and we were hoping that last week that versus Cleveland Browns it'd be a breakout game. Didn't happen. We were excited to see the volume. So what do we do with him? Guys, you tell me. What do you think we should do with Joe Mixon?
I still think you're trying to buy him low. The guy's getting the most touches on that offense week in and week out over Jeremy Hill, over Giovanni Bernard, over A.J. Green. Joe Mixon's getting the touches. The only thing that's hindering him, I feel like, is that offensive line, which was very suspect here in preseason. They got rid of a couple guys, and I think that's kind of what's holding Joe Mixon back. But I'm hoping his talent will soon outshine that delinquency on that offense.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we weren't expecting him to be taking over the lead role right away. And I completely agree with what Brent's saying. If you don't have him on a team, you're trying to get him. If you have him on your team, just sit him down and wait, because you don't want to get rid of us. I mean, especially in dynasty leagues, you want to have him on your team without question. I'm still a huge Joe Mixon fan. But you just have to have patience with him, because that's what you had to have in the beginning of the season. And depending on when you were drafting, if you were drafting like late end of July, early August, you were getting some decent value. I understand once you started getting closer to the actual, start of the season, that value was kind of gone, and you're drafting him as a starter. So I can understand that there's some frustration with that. But honestly, if you drafted him to be ready to go week 1, you already made a misstep. So, try to get what you can, start who you can, and wait, because it's going to happen, because he's a real talented player. He's kind of in a bad situation, not a great coaching staff, but still I think that talent's going to overcome that.
Yeah, I think you guys said it perfectly. I think that you just got to kind of sit and just wait on him. I think that's probably the best thing to do right now, because you're hoping that talent just starts to flourish once they get the offensive line and this offense just running smoothly like the way it's done in the past. So let's go to another running back, but not necessarily a rookie, but someone who's only third year in, Jay Ajayi. What do you guys think? Are you guys worried about him? Do you guys think that he, it's just been because Miami's offense hasn't been that good? Are you guys thinking he's still a starter for week in, week out?
He is kind of my candidate for the Steve Slayton Award. Like, I was kind of worried about him for that exact reason. I was worried because when he was producing last year, the numbers were insane. It was like a Madden game. And so I was worried that was going to be an issue, that like he was just putting up such ridiculous numbers that they weren't going to be able to be replicated, and he wasn't going to be consistent throughout the season. You also bring on the fact that they can't get their offense to go. And I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if it's a Jay Cutler thing, or if it's, the wide receiver thing, if it's an actual, running back situation, whatever it is, they just can't get that offense going. And they're kind of rough to watch. Did you watch that game, you guys? I mean, were you watching that?
No, I didn't watch it.
It was rough.
That was a bad game. Like, it was one of the worst games I've ever watched. I mean, it was just penalty yards left and right. It was so bad. It was so bad.
We got to remember, though, too, that this is the second year with Adam Gase. They started off slow last year, just like this year. And then they switched up their offense a little bit. They got their running game going, and all of a sudden, Ajayi is rushing, 200-yard games during the season?
Well,
so
yeah,
I'm thinking
but
it's slow to get started, but I don't know. I still think Jay Cutler in this passing game is way better than Tannehill ever put on. So I think the offense will get going. Right now, it's a slow start to the season. They had that week 1 bye week, and that might have thrown them off their game a little bit too. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm still starting Ajayi on a weekly basis because he is their running game, and he's a chain mover too with the passing game. So we'll see what happens.
And to further your point, you're also looking at, Cutler came in halfway through preseason, so he isn't even probably completely acclimated to the entire offense. So you give him a few more weeks, and he's one of those guys that he's a gunslinger, so he's going to put up huge points, but he might end up losing the game by throwing 2 interceptions. So we're just kind of seeing what this offense is going to eventually be like. But I think that eventually you're going to get some points out of Ajayi. You just sit tight on him. I don't even think that you can really sit him. Would you sit him, Brett?
No, I would not.
Yeah, I would.
He gets way too much volume.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen his explosiveness that he's had before. I don't think you do sit him. I think you have to start him, and then you just kind of ride the storm with him. It's not like every other running back is doing great as well too. So you have that going for him. But he can have that explosive, and he's still breaking, having a lot of yards after contact, and still breaking those force missed tackles pretty high for this year too as well. So kind of staying along those same lines, we're going to switch over to positions. Jarvis Landry. We were really, he's been in PPR monsters in the past. He's been consistent, getting over 1,000 yards. Now he's only got past 2 games. He only has 6 receptions, under 50 yards, no touchdowns. What are you guys thinking? I mean, is Devontae Parkin taking over that number 1 role to where he's now being the heavily targeted? And Jarvis Landry is just that second guy, or
I mean, Jarvis Landry's never been a touchdown guy, though, is the thing.
Yeah.
He's still getting tons and tons of PPR points because, I mean, week 2 was their first week that they actually had football for Miami, and he caught 13 balls. Granted, it was for like 70 yards. A typical Jarvis Landry stat line. That's what he does. He just catches a lot of balls. He's basically if a running back rushes 4 yards per carry, Jarvis Landry gets 4 yards per catch.
Yeah,
he's just that little like.
Well, another thing, I don't think that has anybody really considered Landry to be a number one wide receiver, because wide receiver, like a number one wide receiver, you think of a guy that's going to catch, maybe 5 or 6 balls and still go over 100 yards. Like it's not always about volume with the number one. It usually the guy that, that slot receiver, that's the guy that's going to get those PPR numbers. And so I don't think that Landry's ever been a true number one, even though he kind of was in that position the first couple of years. I think that Devontae Parker is their number one as far as, the guy that can make the big plays. But if they need to get those yards and tough out that yardage underneath, Landry's going to get those catches.
Okay. I agree with that, guys. Going to a big name that everybody is freaking out about, Amari Cooper. What do we do with him? He was a big crush. Big crush. I know, Brent, you had the biggest crush on him going into the season.
Not just me alone, but he was one of my guys that I had, at the beginning of the season. And gosh, you watch game film on him and he just looks so good. Derek Carr throwing him the ball, high powered offense. Well, what the freak happened? Like Derek Carr, he hasn't performed up to expectations. Neither has the running game. It almost makes me think, what happened to their offensive line? What happened to their identity where they could, protect their quarterback and run the ball down people's throats? Like, where did this all go wrong? And Amari Cooper is unfortunately stuck in this mix, this little rut here where, you don't know what to do with him. I've seen leagues where people dropped him, and I picked him up away.
That's insane.
Which I thought,
insane. That's insane.
It seems crazy, but if people are dropping him, you got to pick him up. And even if he's just a bench stash right now until Derek Carr gets back, you got to have him on your roster.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things is that now, and I don't know if what you think about this, Brent, but is part of the problem that maybe they got too cute with this whole Marshawn Lynch thing? Like, Marshawn Lynch just is too old. He's too old to play. He's not elusive anymore. His whole dynamic was being able to push the pile. He spent a year outside of football. I kind of feel like I kind of had a suspicion about it, but even still, like, we all were just under this like, oh, they've got a great offensive line, so even this 30-year-old guy is going to be amazing. Why did we think that?
Well, that's the thing. Marshawn Lynch has actually looked good. He's actually looked like the old Marshawn Lynch when he was good. But the problem is the offensive line is not opening up the holes. Marshawn Lynch is only getting 10 to 12 carries a game because their defense is giving up so many points that they go into this passing mode instantly because of the talent that they have on the passing side. So,
which is crazy because
Marshawn Lynch just doesn't get the ball enough. And that's what I'm wondering is if Derek Carr is going to be out for any sort of significant time, they might switch over their game a little more to the running side is what I'm thinking.
That's possible. So, go ahead.
I was just roll.
Sorry.
Roll.
Sorry.
Just to interject there a little bit, Brent, you made a point about Marshawn Lynch doing that. But do you think that also it's part of their scheme is that they don't, or part of their plan with Marshawn Lynch, they don't want to tire him out since he is at an old age. They don't want to give him the ball 20 times a game because they want to keep his legs fresh.
Well, here's the thing.
That's part of the game plan.
Frank Gore is old. Marshawn Lynch is not Frank Gore old. And Frank Gore is getting more touches than Marshawn Lynch is right now. And they can still spell Marshawn Lynch with Jalen Richard and DeAndre Washington. Those guys are still performing in the backfield. So,
See, but the thing is that I'm looking at Rashard, and I'm just like, I think he's better. Like I don't know. I'm not sure that Marshawn Lynch is the best running back on that team. I'm not saying that Rashard really should be running the ball. He's a smaller guy. And so, you're a little bit nervous about having him carry the ball 20 times a game, but he's the only one that has shown any home run ability. And so that's what, like, I'm looking at this running game and I'm wondering, okay, which one is going to give a spark to that offense? I don't think it's Marshawn Lynch.
So Marshawn Lynch was probably drafted as maybe your running back 2, more than likely running back 2.
Yep.
What are you doing with him? Are you still starting him? Is he a flex-worthy spot? Is he a bench stash?
I think he's a flex-worthy start because in a running back like desperate desolate, or I can't even say it, decimate like fantasy. Like, it's basically, I mean, it is dead. Like it's just almost crazy because you can hardly find any running backs anymore. I think you have to keep Marshawn Lynch just because he's a running back in general, and he is a starter who's getting most of the touches for that running back core. So I think you have to at least keep him. I think he's a flex-worthy spot in good matchups. He may be even higher with that.
Oh, yeah?
Alex? Do you have anything more to comment about that?
I don't know. Like kind of like what I said. It's just I'm just very ageist when it comes to I don't know. All
right.
I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time with the Marshawn Lynch stuff because it's like I feel like I'm just being tricked. Like I'm being tricked into liking something that I wasn't really on board for. And so I feel like he's not droppable, but I don't think he's startable.
So if he was on your team, Alex, right now, are you waiting?
Okay, well, this is different.
Okay, I'm just saying, if he's on your team right now, are you waiting for just a blow-up game so that you can get rid of him? Or would you hold on to him after a blow-up game?
I mean, okay, if legitimately, knowing how I trade, if we're just talking about a redraft league right now, I would probably have about 5 starters at this point. I would be sitting him down, and I would be waiting for that big game where he just tore up some offense or defense. I'm hoping that it's like at least a middle tier defense to an upper tier defense where he just, for whatever reason, shreds it. I can trade him off and not have to deal with it because I feel like you're just sitting there and waiting for something to happen that I don't think is going to happen. And I think that's going to be frustrating because of where you drafted him. You probably drafted him in the 3rd round. I mean, that's about where he was going, right? Or 3rd round, somewhere in there.
3rd, 4th round, yep.
Yeah, and so depending on how your draft strategy is, he's probably supposed to be a starter. So it's very frustrating that you're getting what you're getting out of him right now.
Yeah. Well, to get back in, I'm glad we touched on Marshawn Lynch, but we never finished on Amari Cooper. What are you guys doing with him? You guys just holding it, sitting him, or are you guys just keeping him, obviously, buying him low if you can, and then just stash him until we have better matchups, right?
I think he's just matchup dependent at this point. I find it so hard to start Amari Cooper over other guys with better matchups right now.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
You just keep him on your bench. Don't drop him, though.
Don't drop it. Like that's ridiculous because legitimately a guy with name recognition, you should never drop because all you need is one big game. Like week 5, week 6, you are desperate to get a running back and Amari Cooper blows up and you're like, finally, you ship him off and you get a running back that can help you out. Like that's how you play the game. Dropping name, like your name brand again, essentially, is a foolish thing to do, and you should never do it.
Yeah. So, and then kind of shuffling back, you guys were talking about a bad backfield to mess with. I want to go to another bad backfield that it's a total mess. He wasn't necessarily drafted high, but people did have higher expectations of him. Eddie Lacy. Now, people are like, well, I know what to do with Eddie Lacy. Just drop his ass. That's what I did, a couple weeks ago. Yeah, but now Chris Carson is back on IR, or not back on. I'm sorry, went to IR, and now you got Thomas Rawls and Eddie Lacy. Eddie Lacy took most of the snaps afterwards. Had an okay finish to that game. It was towards the end though. But people actually kind of had high hopes for him. They thought that like, okay, he can be a resurgence in Seattle. They like to run the ball. What are you guys doing with Eddie Lacy if you still have him on your team? If it's not dropped,
I'm going to go right now. I want nothing to do with Seattle's backfield right now. Not a single thing. I don't want any of them.
I agree. I agree with you, Alex, but I'll pose this question. Are they worth owning any Seattle running back right now? Are they worth actually having on your team to see if something will happen?
But the thing is, okay,
yes.
But here's my issue though, is that if you get Lacy, you got to have Rawls, because there's no point in having one and not having the other. Because in the beginning of August, Eddie Lacy, obviously, we started getting closer to the beginning of the season. Oh, Thomas Rawls. Then all of a sudden it's Carson, and we were basically ready to just hitch our wagon onto him. He gets hurt. This whole thing is starting over again, and I would not be shocked if another random running back from out of nowhere comes out and ends up beating both of these guys. I think that they are that bad that all you have to do is kind of be able to run the ball and not trip over yourself or choke eating a hamburger, and you're going to be a starter in that team.
Poor Eddie Lacy.
What
is it? Okay,
he's a fatty.
Oh,
I'm sorry, guys. Body image issues. I apologize.
So he probably has a better body fat percentage than all of us too.
I'm sure.
That's for sure. So my question to you guys, and I don't know if this is worth a good strategy or not. Just want to propose this question and see what you guys think. So if say Eddie Lacy is out on the waiver wire, another team has Thomas Rawls, do you pick up Eddie Lacy, wait till he shows that he's the starter, and try trading him to the Thomas Rawls owner? With that, or do you think you can get anything of value back that's worth that, if you can even afford a roster spot?
I mean, once he becomes a starter, though, aren't you at the advantage? So now you have another starting running back.
True, but what if Chris Carson comes back after
is he designated return?
I don't think he's going to come back. A broken ankle for a running back, that's.
It wasn't a broken ankle. It was a high sprained ankle, a fracture on his leg. So he twisted his ankle so bad that it fractured his leg. So the fracture will heal faster, but it's a high sprain, which actually needs surgery to it. So he will be missing out time at least 4 weeks.
I thought he was on IR.
He is on IR, but I thought he was. Isn't it goes? I was just saying, as far as his injury goes, 6 weeks and then designated return.
If they designate him to return.
Yeah.
But with the amount of running backs that they have, who knows if they actually will or not. They might just let him heal all season. So that'd be my biggest worry. Yeah. I don't know. Right now, I don't see a point in owning any Seattle running back right now until things shake out.
Yeah.
Because they could name Rawls the starter like they did a couple weeks ago, and then all of a sudden Chris Carson is the one with 20 carries.
But
it's been frustrating for any fantasy owner that has had. I mean, even the person that Van Cleve, you had Carson and things were looking great, and then boom, gone, lost him.
Lost him. And I had started him that week, so I thought he had a great matchup and stuff, and then he got injured. But you just said that I wouldn't want anything to do with the running back till something shakes out. So do you just roster him and just bench him until something shakes out, or do you not even just think about it? And if Eddie Lacy comes on Eddie Lacy or Thomas Rawls is on your waiver wire and something blows up, do you try taking a shot on him then?
Unless you're in a deep league or have a deep bench, that's the only reason I would own a Seattle running back right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That answers that question. So let's move on to again. Let's go to another disappointing running back, DeMarco Murray. He's had one game that he's shown that he's running back one worthy, and that came on a 75-yard run. This is a guy that everybody drafted as their starter, their number one running back when they're towards the end of the first round and stuff. Some early second round, depending on what league you were in, how many teams you had. What are we doing with him? He's got Derrick Henry on his heels. He's not producing.
Alex, you're in that situation. You have both DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. So who do you start each week? One guy's outperforming the other, clearly, but
yeah. The thing is that they're giving the volume to DeMarco, but the entire time I'm just wishing that to be completely, I want a situation like in Kansas City where you didn't know who was going to be the guy, and where it goes out. I almost wish that, I don't wish for him to get injured. Let's just say he gets traded. I want to start Derrick Henry, and I want to start him now. I love DeMarco Murray. I even loved him when he was on Dallas, and I have never loved a Dallas player ever in my life except for DeMarco Murray. Then he went to the Eagles, and I was so excited, and then he did absolutely nothing. I've been a DeMarco Murray fan forever. I'm done. I want to be done, but I can't because he is the starter. So until he is no longer the starter, you can't feel good about starting Derrick Henry.
And I heard you mention that he's getting volume, but is he really? I mean, I feel like he's only getting 15 touches a game, and Derrick Henry's getting, 13 touches a game. So, I mean, it's just so volatile because both running backs are getting so much work.
But it hasn't been consistent as to which one gets the points. So you're legitimately rolling the dice either way.
So you're just basically having to start the guy that you drafted earlier.
Yeah.
He's not really getting the volume. If you look at his game logs, it goes, first game, 12 carries, second game, 9 carries, third game, 14 carries, fourth game, 7 carries. It's fluctuating bad. Yeah. That's not your top running back. You should be seeing more volume from your top running back from that. And he's not even getting targeted in the pass. He's getting 2 targets a game. That's it. That's not what you want to see out of a guy you drafted. But but he is the starting running back. You know that he's performed in the past. You have to start him every week, right? Until you see.
And he has home run ability. I mean, you mentioned about that 75-yard touchdown run. That is what he's capable of. Now, as time goes on, he's less and less capable of that. Is Derrick Henry capable of that? Possibly, but you're rolling the dice every week with that team, and it seems like they're kind of getting out of games early. Like they're not as good as we thought they were supposed to be. They've had some injury issues, but still, they're a weird team. Like I thought they were going to be much better than what they've been.
They should be much better than what they've been. They've done a lot of upgrading. They've got a lot of talent on that team, and it's not come to fruition. We don't even know what happened to Eric Decker. He's just become lost. I don't even know if he's MIA right now.
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, you've got, Delaney Walker is still like the best wide receiver or best receiving option they have. And I think that was kind of a big thing because, I mean, Roman and I even argued about it because he thought that – now, I thought he was going to lose some of his touches. I didn't think that he was going to, I didn't think that he was going to be as bad as what Roman thought, but I also didn't think that he was going to be basically the most targeted option there. So I think that's a little concerning that team, you still have that older tight end is still your best player right now. You have all these talented players, and you're still not able to get the ball to them. It's very concerning.
I mean, not to mention that Delaney Walker has as many rushing touchdowns as DeMarco Murray.
Yes.
Yep.
That is
this season
very discouraging. So
for sure.
So starting him, sitting him, what are you guys doing?
If you can sit him. But more likely than not, you can't.
Yeah, just because of where you drafted him. your backups or your bench may not be that deep. Now you may have say you hit a home run with Kareem Hunt or another running back that's come up that you may have value in. But Brent, what do you think?
I just feel like it's so hard to sit DeMarco Murray.
Yeah,
he has got to be in your starting lineup because any given week, I feel like he could go over 20 touches a game.
Yeah.
He has that kind of workhorse capability. We've seen it in the past. The problem is they have just as talented of a running back right behind him. And that's what's unfortunate because it's taking away touches from DeMarco. But I still think you have to start DeMarco Murray.
As much as we crushed on him and this crush has gone sour, you gotta stay with him. So
guys, real quick, how in the hell did I end up with David Johnson, DeMarco Murray, and Cook? And it's the worst situation I've ever had in my life. I don't understand.
Oh my gosh,
Dalvin Cook! I was so excited about DeMarco Murray and David. Those, that should be a running back core to end all running back cores, and it is the worst thing that has ever happened to me.
I actually feel your pain because in one of redraft leagues, I had David Johnson and DeMarco Murray back to back, and it's just I'm 0-4 in that league. That's how bad it's going.
Yeah.
So I understand your pain.
I don't own David Johnson, DeMarco Murray, or Dalvin Cook in any league.
Well, you're feeling a lot better about things than I am right now.
All right, well, screw you, Brent. Moving on. Let's go on to a big man crush that everybody, I think, had. Christian McCaffrey. Man, we were so excited about him. Had a great combine. Looked good in preseason. And now everybody was hoping that he would just come out like some of these other rookies did, and he has not. What are you guys doing with Christian McCaffrey? Now this is going to be kind of a two-parter, one for Dynasty and one for redraft. What do you guys think? Go.
Well, my biggest worry about Christian McCaffrey is my biggest fear was that he was going to be a Reggie Bush-like player, and it's actually turning out to be a little bit more true than I want it to be because he's so talented. He is clearly the best player on the field for Carolina at all times. Now, Jonathan Stewart is actually performing all right, and he's getting so many rushing touches that it's really taking away from McCaffrey's workload, unfortunately, for fantasy. That's all I really got to say is I still want to start McCaffrey, but right now he's that fringe flex player that I want to start every week. You just got to pick and choose carefully.
I just have to say that I've got to break up with him. I just sent him that text that I'm thinking I should have called, but
him?
I texted him.
Oh man,
I texted him. I said, hey, it's not you, it's me. No, It is you. It's your team. I hated the fact that the Panthers picked you up, and this is the exact damn reason why. Because they have the fact that Jonathan Stewart is their best rusher in team history makes me want to throw up. Because that means that middle of the road, barely there running back that's been injured half of his entire career is the best thing that's ever happened to that run game. I don't know. I mean, he got drafted to one of the worst teams that he could have gotten drafted to. And you're absolutely right, Brent. It was like, is he going to just be a Reggie Bush role player kind of guy? I'm done with him. He just went to the wrong team. That's all I can say about him.
So we have a breakup, and then we have a hold steady then, right?
Yeah, I'm still holding steady because I still think because of Jonathan Stewart's injury history, it still might happen. So if you're gonna
hold and hop out for him, so
I wouldn't drop him. I wouldn't drop him. If you could trade him or package him with someone, do it. But I'm not. I'm holding steady with him still.
I mean, I think that it would be very unwise to drop him, but I also think that I want to get rid of him while the name recognition still holds up. In Dynasty, I see your point, Brent, and I probably would stash him. But if I were in a redraft league, I'm trying to get rid of him for whatever I can at this point.
I mean, he's like a better version of Theo Riddick, and Theo Riddick usually finishes as a running back 2 in PPR leagues. So
Yeah.
that's where I would see his value, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, moving on. This next crush, a little background story here. This is where we're going out, and Brent's just standing by the dance floor and seeing this crush, and it's like, ooh, I want that so bad. And Alex is like, no, man, that ain't gonna be good. You're gonna regret this. You're gonna have the next morning. You're gonna wish that you did not talk to that crush. Samaje Perine. Brent had the biggest crush on him going into this season. Alex,
Huge.
you were against it.
Huge.
And you tried to tell
He
him.
wanted to
tell
draft
Brent so
him ahead of Kelly in like the 6th round if he could.
He had this. There was obviously, we were waiting for him because Rob Kelly was the number 1 back. He got injured. Perine took over. Nothing happened. So what are we doing with Perine here? Brent, are you still crushing on him, or are you breaking up with him?
I broke up with him at before week 1.
So
But-
you woke up the next morning and you were regretting that, weren't you?
Oh yeah, big time. I learned my lesson on that one. But I mean, he's had opportunities. He just keeps fumbling them away, and in that offense, if you fumble the ball, you're going to be benched, and it's not good for you.
I just don't understand all that talk. I mean, there was so much talk about him. What has happened to him? Is it just a ball control issues? Like it seemed like by halfway through preseason, it was done. I mean, it didn't even seem like there was even a contest for who was going to be carrying the ball.
He had a real bad preseason game where he missed some pass protection and some different coverages and stuff like that. So he fell down the depth chart a little bit, but after that, Rob Kelly just kind of took over. He was the best back, and
it's not saying a lot though.
I know that's the thing. Like Rob Kelly is an undrafted free agent, and you bring in Perine in the 3rd or 4th round of the draft. I think he was a day 2 pick, and you just instantly think, okay, this guy was at least drafted. He's gonna be the starter at some point. So the hype got so high. I bought into it. Mm-hmm. I still think that Perine's probably the better back, but because of his issues that he has, he's going to be down on the depth chart. And Washington has proven that they can actually be capable in their offense with Rob Kelly, or even that Mac Brown guy, or even Chris Thompson. Anybody but Perine.
Anyone.
So obviously redraft, we're sending his ass away. What about Dynasty? What do you guys do with him then?
Could he be a Devontae Freeman? Could he be that guy that was sitting behind somebody that, we're not really thinking that he's that great, and so he's, and didn't show flashes that first season. Second season, he takes over because Rob Kelly's not going to be hard to beat if he can get going. It's not going to be hard to overtake Rob Kelly. He's probably on the, maybe bottom 3rd of running backs in the league as far as starters. So I would say if you can somehow, I mean, in our league, we have taxi squad. There are those that'd be great for him. I don't think that you want to get rid of him quite yet because of that talent base, because of just past the past. You got to think about it, and I think that when you look at how Devontae Freeman, and it's happened multiple times where that second year they kind of come alive.
I would agree with that. I think for dynasty purposes, if you're playing in a league, if you have a deeper bench spots or a taxi squad, as some leagues do, or practice squad, as some people like to call it, that you can allow you to just sit and wait on him, I think you do that, especially in a league where running backs can be scarce and you don't know what can happen at any point. I think you just sit on him for now and just see if it really comes to fruition for you, because you didn't draft him as your starter anyway. So I think you can get by with him. So I think that would be good. And let's go to a big name here. A big name that some people are still riding hot with him. The big crush coming into the season because he was going in the first round. Melvin Gordon. I'll just let you guys speak about it and what your guys' thoughts on Melvin Gordon. What are people doing with Melvin Gordon? People haven't really been disappointed with him, but he hasn't been to me, my personal opinion, haven't been putting up that first round worthy number. So you guys tell me, what should we do with Melvin Gordon?
I mean, you just went from P. Ryan to Gordon. Hold on. Let me just gather my thoughts real quick.
Cleanse your palate here, Brent. Cleanse your palate.
I mean, I honestly think that Gordon is you're just waiting on him. I mean, he's starting. You're not even thinking about sitting him down. I understand that he's not putting up the numbers he was doing last year, but his numbers were pretty crazy, and he was putting up a lot of touchdowns, a lot. And touchdowns, you always have to be looking at that stat as a separate outlier, because that's hard to replicate. Like, it's hard to say, okay, well, I had 15 touchdowns this season. More likely than not, you're probably going to get 8 or maybe 4. Or, year to year, the touchdowns don't usually correlate. So, I would hope that they get more involved. Now, the issue that they're having is that the Chargers are just not very good. They're not a very good team. They don't have a good defense. You're waiting on some pieces like I just lost his name, Mike Williams, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but you're waiting on Mike Williams to come back. I don't think that anything has been really going on. Keenan Allen, has he been all right? I haven't really heard his name at all.
Yeah, he's been doing great.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So I mean, I guess I think that they end up like the Eagles. Were beaten up on them. They only lost by 2, but that's because they had to just keep flinging the ball down the field to kind of take advantage of the fact that the Eagles secondary is pretty beat up. So I just think that their offense is problematic right now, but there's no way that you're benching Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, the thing with Melvin Gordon in my mind is it doesn't matter if it's in the rushing game, because he'll get points in the passing game and vice versa. If he's not getting it in the passing game, it's usually meaning he's doing great in the rushing game. And it's all dependent on their defense. Their defense is so hit or miss each week, and more than likely it's been bad. So he's been productive in the passing game. And I do think that he could be touchdown dependent, but he seems to get that one touchdown in the rushing or passing aspect every single week. Mm-hmm. So, and he's been pretty consistent with that all last year and so far this year. Now he has been dealing with an injury lately, so that's something to monitor, but I still think you're starting him every single week. Running back 1 every single week. He's still getting volume every single week. Don't bail on Melvin Gordon.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
You're absolutely starting him. I agree with that. I do think his performance is down because he is yet to have a 100-yard game, yet to even have an 80-yard rushing game. So, Mike, another question about Melvin Gordon. Say he hits that 100-yard gain, or he explodes. Do you then trade him, or do you sit with him and you keep him as your number 1 running back?
You got to hold him.
Yeah. I don't.
What's behind Melvin Gordon right now? Nothing.
Nobody.
He is going to be an elite option as long as he's on the field.
You don't think you can get a better running back?
No.
Not.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be worth it to you to try.
I mean, you would and legitimately, you wouldn't be trading Melvin Gordon to get another running back. You'd probably be trading Melvin Gordon to get some like a wide receiver or something like that. And I just don't think that it's wise. And we've talked about this and kind of beat it into the ground. Running backs are scarce. Bell cow running backs that are the number one guy, and there's almost nothing else on the field to spell them, are even more rare. Melvin Gordon's one of those kind of guys. You run with them. Just how it is.
Literally, you run with them.
You literally run with them. Yes.
Okay. So to wrap this segment up, we've got one more huge man crush of Romine's. We have to do this because since Romine hasn't on the show, we've got to speak for him, right? So we have to present one of his biggest man crushes of all time, besides Tyrod Taylor, Isaiah Crowell. He is just not getting anything. What are we doing with Isaiah Crowell? Are we breaking up with him? Are we telling Romine? Are we those guys? We his friends doing due diligence and saying, look, your crush is cheating on you. He is a slob. He's not doing his job. You got to end this thing. We've been good friends.
I wish he was on right now because I told him this at the beginning. There is no reason to think that he was ever going to have an awesome season. I didn't know where that was coming from. Like, I understand that their offensive line got better, that they got this, that. The Browns are not a great team, and they're going to be out of games. And so the first thing to go is going to be Crowell, and he's not the pass catcher. Duke Johnson's a pass catcher, so as soon as the game starts getting out of hand, Duke Johnson's in. I mean, it never made sense. I didn't understand why there was this crush on him and why people were talking him up like he was going to be a 1,300-yard rusher.
Well, to that defense,
insane.
Last year they were behind in a lot of games, and they kept Crowell in the game for a lot of those catches. This year they're not. It's all been Duke Johnson so far when they're behind. I mean, he's getting the catches, and he's even getting – Duke Johnson's now getting rushes in these games. Duke Johnson never got rushes last year. So, So you're drafting Crowell more than likely in the third round. I think he was coming off the board right after Marshawn Lynch was, and he was more than likely –
Who would you rather have?
Probably – I still want Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do. That's my preference. But I just – with Crowell – even today, Hugh Jackson came out for like the fourth straight week and said, I need to get Crowell the ball more. Yeah, you've been saying it all freaking year so far, and you still haven't. I think he's averaging like 9 carries a game. Okay, so what are you actually doing with Crowell, though? You're not starting him. It's so volatile to start him now. Like, you don't want to start him.
You can't trade him.
Yeah. You can't trade him.
And it almost is kind of stupid to drop him because he's still a starting running back. Like, that's the problem. It's so hard to drop a starting running back in this climate of fantasy football.
Yeah.
Plus, if you're drafting one of your starting running backs in the third round, it's almost a pride thing where you cannot drop him because that's embarrassing that you drafted that bad.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Sorry, Roma. I'm not saying anything bad against you or anything.
But we are, since you're not on
there. But totally.
No, I don't think they're utilizing Crowell at all. And I think that's what's hindering him so much. I think you have to keep him. He just rides your bench until they actually start utilizing him more. Because you guys are right. He's a starting running back. And in fantasy football, a starting running back has great value. It may not be Go ahead.
And the nice thing with Crowell is it can't get much worse.
Yeah.
Like right now is the bottom. So I feel like he has potential to go up from here. But it's a matter of if they utilize him. So we have to wait and see. Maybe a bench stash right now. If you drop him, I don't blame you for dropping him. I don't know if he'd be picked up by anybody afterwards.
Depending on the league,
Depending on the league,
Right now, in my personal preference, I would probably just bench him right now if you have better options to start.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
I think that real quick, I just was wondering because, for the last couple of years, I think last year we were really excited about, the possibility that Cleveland could be good. This year, I think we were excited with a little bit more of like they're not going to be amazing, but they still have some exciting players. is this just a team that is never really going to get it together, or is this like I don't know?
It's the same issue they've always had. Their quarterbacks just are getting hurt or they're turning the ball over. They need a quarterback like Kaiser right now. He needs to hold on to the ball. He needs to keep the offense on the field. Yeah. And right now he just keeps turning the ball over to the other team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think give it some time. I think Kaiser will come around. I think, once he gets some he's one of those guys who's going to take chances, and he's going to throw the ball down the field. And so you're going to have this with him. He can be volatile, but he can be huge.
But they don't really have anybody like if Coleman's going to keep getting hurt, they really don't have anything. Because I'm another bet that we had, Kenny Britt, not an answer as far as like a true number one. Because I mean, you know who the leading wide receiver was last week? My former man crush, Ricardo Lewis.
Yep. He has been making so much mistakes, even mental mistakes, jumping off sides. He is just playing horrible. I even jumped on.
He's a bad player.
He is.
He's just not a good player.
I don't understand why he's still keeping target. I don't know why, Ricardo Lewis or Rashad Higgins aren't getting more targets and more volume. It doesn't make sense to me.
Right now, Higgins and Lewis are the best wide receivers on that team that are healthy.
Yes, but somehow Kenny Britt keeps getting volume to it, and I don't understand why.
I'd argue that Duke Johnson is their best receiver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Touche there. Touche.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, do you guys have anything else you guys are crushing on before we wrap this thing up? Okay.
I mean,
are you guys going to speak anything else?
I mean, I think that I think everybody's crushing right now on Hunt, obviously, for good reason. I think that he's the best rookie running back, and it's not even close. So I think that everybody's. I think that people are excited, especially where you were getting him. I think you definitely lucked into something real nice.
If you drafted early, yeah. I mean, he was getting drafted in the 7th, 8th round, I believe.
Yeah.
Just as the handcuff to Spencer Ware, who you probably drafted a few rounds before. Mm-hmm. But then as the drafting season went on, you saw Spencer Ware go down, and all of a sudden Kareem Hunt was being drafted in the 3rd round, which was still fantastic value.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's like you think about like if you at one point had the choice of getting Hunt or Crowell, and you were like, I feel better about Crowell. How terrible do you feel about yourself right now? or Marshawn Lynch and Hunt, like any of those guys, like that.
You could have waited 2 more rounds and gotten Dalvin Cook. I mean, granted, what just happened, but still, Dalvin Cook was going in the 5th.
Yeah.
That was great value too. Dalvin Cook was actually a surprise to me. I didn't think that he was going to do as well as he did. I knew he had talent. I didn't think that. I mean, he a true 3-down back with upside of the passing game. So, that was it was a sad thing to see happen. Unfortunate with the ACL. I hate to see when especially young running backs go down with that. So that's tough. But hopefully Kareem Hunt continues to have a success he did. That's great. That young talent coming in. This is a good running back class. I know we were coming in kind of skeptic about it because we're like, there's only Fournette and Mixon and McCaffrey. There's a lot more depth to this thing.
I got one more. It's also a rookie. Kamara looked amazing the other night. He is the best running back on that team, and the problem is that I think that Peyton's style has gotten stale, and I think it's about time to move him out of town. And if he does, and they get rid of Ingram, I mean AP is a non-factor. I don't understand why they even got him at this point. I think Kamara could be a real a really nice running back in the NFL.
Absolutely. I have the biggest crush on him. Of course, I'm an owner of him. And so right now he is one of my biggest crushes, and it just frustrates me with that offense, not knowing, because you want to start him because you saw what he can do last week. He's explosive, but it's just tough because you still have Mark Ingram there who's taking a lot of.
He's
volume.
small, isn't he? Isn't he smaller?
Yeah, I think 5'10", 5'11", maybe
something like that.
Well, that's not too bad. Like I was thinking that maybe he was like 5'8", but if he's not that short, then that's not bad.
Shoot, they were using him in goal line last week, and that's when he scored his touchdown. So that's good to see that they trust him in that situation. So I think he could be a true 3-down back in the NFL if you get Mark Ingram out of there. So
I feel like that's like the biggest surprise so far this whole fantasy season. Like, if I'm thinking of just this fantasy season so far, the biggest takeaway I've got so far is how successful these rookie running backs have actually been.
Yeah.
There's just so many of them, and we haven't even seen half of them break out yet in my mind.
Yeah.
Like McCaffrey, we saw like one flash in one game where he caught over 100 yards. But I mean, there's a lot of guys still out there that we haven't seen yet, and they're going to get their opportunity this season. And this running back class, this depth is just so immense, and you want to get a part of that, especially in dynasty leagues. And going into next season, there's going to be another big running back class. So I'm pretty excited to see how all these players pan out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Absolutely. And if you're in dynasty, start stashing some of these draft picks to get some of those rookie running backs, because we all know what can happen if you don't have your running backs.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, that takes care of our show. That's our crushes and our future crushes that we like to talk about. And, we had the same questions you guys do. What do we do with these guys? What's our move with them? How do we move forward with our fantasy team? So if you guys have any more questions, hop on. Let us know. Hop on. We have our Twitter account, 4 Horsemen Pod. Also our Gmail account. Email us. Let us know if you guys have more questions, more interesting things that you guys want to know about. Those tough, hard questions, what to do with your lineup. So, well, that's it for me and the other 4 Horsemen. And we'll see you guys next week.